So my name is Kashama. Thank you all for being with us tonight. So welcome. We are celebrating our third year of the high school here in Palo Alto. We're also celebrating our first year of graduating seniors, and Diego and Iris are in that group, and they'll share in a little bit about some of their experiences. Our program, really at the heart of it, is rooted in community and caring community. And so what you see in the dynamic between students and students and teachers and families is a lot of mutually supportive dynamics, respect, friendship, cooperation. These are all really at the heart of what we're cultivating in ourselves and in our relationship with one another. Our teaching staff very much interacts with students in an advisory and a mentorship capacity, but the learning goes both ways, and we are deeply blessed by the presence of the young people in the program and learn from them daily also, while bringing our own expertise and abilities to share into their lives as well. We're part of a much bigger network of educational programs. The underlying philosophy that we use is education for life, and it is an approach to education that is holistic in terms of working with the individual, not just as an intellect that needs to be expanded, but working with the physical, the emotional, the heart quality, intense, energetic engagement with life. Our students we see as really whole beings that need to be nurtured on many, many levels. And so we work with students to help develop many, many aspects of their being, and also to create a way of relating to themselves and to the world that naturally builds deeper, more lasting happiness, more success, not in an external way necessarily, although that is possible also, but in a way of feeling the joy of life and the engagement with life that brings real fulfillment. Recently, I was talking with someone who had read an article, and the article was describing a lot of the high-level, high-pressure high schools here in our area in Silicon Valley, and they were describing these schools as increasingly toxic environments and are producing more and more anxiety and feelings of stress and isolation and things. And just the article was highlighting that a real shift was needed. And I think that this is one of the learning environments that will continue to grow and provide the antidote for a lot of what we're seeing in terms of the ill health and toxicity that's alive in education, and bringing students back into a place of well-being in body, mind, and spirit. We have sister educational programs, schools, parent groups, things like that, pretty much around the world at this point. The first Living Wisdom School was founded in the early 1970s in about 4 hours from here in Nevada City. And actually prior to that, about 100 years ago, the first school based on these same principles was founded in India by Paramhansa Yogananda. He had a boys' school and started bringing in a lot of the tools that we're working with now in education. And so we're looking at about 100 years of exploration, but really since the 70s, a very dynamic living laboratory of how to build true happiness and success in students. Our elementary and middle school programs here in the Bay Area have been in place since the early 1990s, so about 30 years of growth. And then our high school program developed out. This is the third year of our upper school. So it's a joy to be helping this program to grow. We have a phenomenal teaching staff, and many of them are here tonight and will introduce themselves to you. We have teachers from many different parts of the world represented. They are experts in the areas that they teach and have a passion for learning and sharing not only knowledge, but depth of understanding and interconnection with their areas of exploration and study in the rest of the world. Like I said before, there's an incredible relationship between students and teachers that is able to develop and thrive in an environment that is both supportive and responsive to the students' needs. We work very closely with students, so often mentoring happens in a one-to-one ratio. We also do a lot of work in small groups. And I'm going to stop the screen share right now so that we can hear a little bit more from our teachers that are here. I'll go in the same order that I was moving in before and invite you, Hazi, to unmute yourself and share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
So again, my name is Hazi. I'm teaching 3 subjects here. I'll start off with, I grew up in the area and I was a student at the Living Wisdom Elementary School from kindergarten to 8th grade. So that's one reason why I came back here, because I was, throughout life, as I went from school to school, I appreciated more and more the values that I gained at the Living Wisdom Elementary, and I wanted to come back and become a part of that process also. And then I went to a local college prep school. It was Woodside Priory. And so I got to experience the rigorous academic style of education there. It was a very great academic experience. And then after 3 years, I left for college in Massachusetts at Bard College at Simon's Rock. It's a liberal arts college with a traditional focus in the liberal arts, which means like an interdisciplinary, a broad critical thinking type of education where you are expansive and you learn many different fields and try to integrate them as a whole. And so there I concentrated in critical theory, which is a branch of literary theory, but mainly in mathematics. And after 2 years, I left for Germany to do my graduate studies in mathematics. And there I experienced an international and European style of science education and research, which is probably one of the leading levels of research in the world. So that was a very great experience. And I focused in mathematics and got my master's degree, and I did some research at that time as well. And then I decided to come back here because I felt a passion for teaching. And so that's one of the main reasons I'm here, is because of this passion I have for wanting to share and thinking about how we can improve how knowledge is communicated but in such a way that the students grow as individuals. So learning mathematics, not just in terms of here's a technique, now apply it, which has its value in terms of training the intellect, training the brain, training that computer aspect of our brain, but also here's the mathematics, how can it improve your life all around? And that's one of the principles of education for life, which I'm drawn to. So to give an example, one student was asking, what is the relevance of all of this? And it was a very fundamental thing I pointed out. Well, if you are creating so many errors, if you learn how to complete your work without any errors, you're developing concentration. And so rather than thinking of it as, why am I doing this? Think of it in terms of, this is an opportunity for me to develop my concentration. And she happened to have an interest in wanting to have better concentration. And so this is an example of just a very basic way of linking your studies to fundamental aspects of well-being. And then with mathematics, I want to bring in a more conceptual side of things, a more creative side of things. Mathematics is an art, not simply as here's a tool bag and learn how to do each of these things and be prepared for the test in order to do it, but understand what it means, why you're doing it, and hopefully begin to ascertain that there's some beauty involved in it as well. And then in the English, I try to push for a very reading and writing centric focus, so that we, especially with the writing, we free up the students' creativity and allow them to express themselves a little bit more creatively. So the emphasis will be on a first write as a free write before you go in and try to organize in a very precise manner, a very structured manner. But first, let your thoughts flow freely and try to open up the creative side. And this is a block that a lot of students have. So I see a lot of value in this as an example. And in the PE, I tried to give a very broad and balanced education, balancing both stillness and relaxation and stretching with some intense sprinting and exercises, in addition to certain exercises from the martial arts, which develop things like reaction, timing, being aware of your partner and what they're doing, and just a general focus in the movements. And so this is a very just an introductory little thing, and I don't want to go too long. I hope I haven't gone too long. Is that fine?
Really good. Thank you, Hazi. Thank you very much. Shanti.
Hi everyone. So my name is Shanti, and I've been with Living Wisdom High School since it opened 3 years ago in 2017. And mostly what I've done for the school is do marketing, graphic design, and website work. But I also am the service learning coordinator and have been teaching a class called Be the Change, which is a bit self-explanatory, but it's not just being the change in the world, although it is designed to help empower students in whatever they're inspired to do in the world, but it's also about inner change. So we do a lot of centering practices and introspective writing and journaling, group discussions, emotional intelligence, communication, and just things that can really develop that inner life and inner sense of self. So that's been a joy to teach at the school. And like Hazi, I was also a student at Living Wisdom at the school up in Nevada City for most of my education, although 3 years I left it for another school and then came back for high school. And because it was such a transformative and powerful and really life-changing experience there, I felt inspired to come and support the school in Palo Alto as it blossomed into its own unique expression of education for life. So I am really inspired and passionate about working at the school and all that it stands for. And I feel like what it has to offer is really needed in the world right now, especially with all these changes and uncertainties in the future, that having those inner qualities can really provide students the ability to handle whatever life brings. So my background in terms of education is in Spanish and psychology and education, and I'm currently a student at California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco. So I'm continuing my learning and weaving that into the classroom as well. But it's a joy to be there. So thank you all.
Thank you, Shanti. Mandana.
So I teach social science there. So the classes I teach are world history, US history, AP US history, and personal finance. Growing up, I always loved history, and my dad and my uncles, they all loved history. So I used to read their books and we would have conversations. And I never looked at history as like a course, a lesson or something, or just information. To me, it was something that I could feel it, like I could feel how these people used to feel their pains, their emotions, and I felt I could put myself in their shoes. And I like to continue teaching the same way. I'm so passionate about or love human and love behavior and emotions, and I like to study that. I like to understand how people are and like what leads to something else. So I'm trying to bring this to the classroom as well. And by teaching history, I don't just want the students to know, okay, this is what happened. I want them to know, what did people really go through? How did they feel during that situation? What, their pains, their emotions. And I think by this approach to history, it can improve the sense of compassion in human. So it raised the sense of compassion and understanding people. And my goal is to teach humanity behind of history. We have a lot of discussion in the classroom and encourage them to speak and say, like, what would they do if they were in that, for example, the government shoes at that time. So I also like to encourage the critical thinking, what would you do in that situation, and see what they think, like what was right, what was wrong, and why, to make them think. I think these are things that we all need in our life. It's not just something we need to learn in the classroom and be over with it. And also I would love to, and I try to connect the lessons to their personal lives and the situation of the society today. And we have different kinds of projects, so it's interesting and creative for them. They do interviews, they write essays, they do research, they make propaganda posters. So I also try to understand the classroom atmosphere or each individual and see what is their passion and try to approach them that way and assign the projects that way. My main goal is to raise compassion and discuss about humanity in the history class.
Thank you, Mandana. Lisa.
Hi, my name's again Lisa Travato, and I'm teaching general biology and AP biology, and they're both small classes. So a lot of one-on-one work with the student, and echoing a lot of what I've already heard. Wanting to get the students to connect with the subject matter on a personal level is really important to me, helping them see the relevance of what they're learning, not just, is it going to be on the test kind of an attitude, but really cultivating an interest, learning where there might not have been interest and it doesn't seem like something they want to do, but learning that their success will be built upon a foundation of understanding how to think creatively or cultivate their own interest in any topic. And with the more advanced students with the AP class, I also really enjoy helping them understand how to deal with large volumes of information that's sort of coming at them all at once. And right now, even we're getting into, okay, now that we're most of the way through the course, how are we going to go back and integrate all of this information and really do a methodical preparation for the AP exam, which is, of course, the end goal of the AP course, taking that AP exam, hopefully for college credit. So it's really exciting. And by way of background, I have an undergraduate degree in a multidisciplinary biology degree from Cornell, and I'm also a lawyer. So I have a lot of experience working with synthesizing large amounts of information and studying. So I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Diana.
Hi, my name is Diana. I teach chemistry and physics at the school. I have a PhD in chemistry from University of Cape Town in South Africa. This is also where I spent a lot of years doing research, teaching students, tutoring, demonstrating experiments, and so on. So I'm bringing that into the classroom. I've also published papers in international journals in Europe and USA. I think my favorite part about working at the school is connecting with students one-on-one. And this happens a lot on basically daily basis, even now during this shelter in place. And it allows me to get to know them as people and to basically be able to help them achieve their full potential much more than I think someone can do in a bigger classroom. I think our favorite part is always experiments. This is where we have a lot of fun. It's also an area where you are allowed to make mistakes. And this is not something that a lot of kids experience when you're learning to the test and so on. And that's part of the process. It's being free to make mistakes and be able to learn from that and explain it, basically.
Thank you, Diana. So I'm going to take us back to the presentation and we'll go a little bit farther. We'll hear from families and students. So you heard actually from a lot of the teachers what the environment is like here in the classroom. Obviously right now we're navigating a completely different scenario with the shelter in place ordinances that are happening currently. But under normal circumstances, we have both in-person instruction that happens, and also we use online platforms to facilitate a good portion of the learning as well. So we were quite well equipped to make this shift to full online school. There's a lot of collaboration and creativity and working together through labs and projects. As much as we can, We begin from a place of experience-based learning, and so any opportunities that we have both within the classroom and then outside of the classroom, field trips, projects that can take us farther afield, service trips, things like that, that allow us to offer students and ourselves experience first, and then making sense of that experience and working with it to create deeper learning and understanding. That's the approach that we try to bring as often as possible. And then personalizing the curriculum. So not only do students and parents engage very actively in creating the personal learning plan for the student, but we also make sure that integrated into their learning and their core academic courses and such, we weave in their interests and their passions as well as their long-term goals. I'll talk in a few minutes about a project and part of the program called Passions Projects that we do. But I want to finish with our coursework. So we offer the full range. Even though we're working with small groups of students, we're able to provide them with general education level learning, college prep where it's appropriate, honors and advanced placement courses. And then we also offer dual credit learning, which is through partnership with our local community college network. And so students are able to take classes either online or in person. And again, this very much is determined by student readiness, intellectual capacity, maturity level, and also interest level. We have a student this year who is very, very interested in marine biology, and where we're able to pair her with a local community college so that she was able to use that course as one of her science courses, preparing her for graduation. So this is possible for generally upperclassmen, but because we craft the program so uniquely and specifically to students, it very much just depends on what the needs are for the student. As you can hear in all of the conversation, we're looking for the deeper learning and for the richness that comes from going beyond working for a grade and moving into working for greater understanding and greater capacity and greater integration, incorporating critical thinking and communication, collaboration, always with integrity, students learning how to work with their own inner faculties also to build greater intuition that comes through creative flow, adaptability, and leadership. Our students are encouraged and invited into the leadership of the school, and they're active participants in the process of creation. I'd like to invite our two students to share a little bit at this point.
My name is Diego, and as Shama mentioned earlier, this school is very much based upon community. I transferred to this school senior year from a very large high school that had a lot of students. It was very competitive. Just wasn't the right school for me. So when I joined Living Wisdom High School, it was a huge contrast. We have very, very small class size, obviously, and the community here is just, it's wonderful. What we do is a lot of community building trips and stuff to not only connect with other students, but as well as teachers. And having that connection with faculty as well really helps, well, me personally, kind of advance my learning in a way that I really wouldn't be able to do in, say, my other high school, which was just so big that communicating with teachers was almost impossible. Additionally, the academics is also at a very good pace because you can kind of decide like how you want to learn, and you have a lot of independence with your study habits, and your teachers will support you a lot with that, which I'm really grateful for. I feel really well prepared for college because of this year, and it's great knowing that every single teacher is behind you and supporting you every step of the way. Additionally, I feel like it's a great school to attend, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys that kind of smaller community feel and who wants to become more independent with what they're learning and basically get more support than what they would receive at another high school. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diego.
I agree with a lot of what Diego said. For me, I came to Living Wisdom last year at the beginning of 11th grade. and at my old school, and actually my whole academic lifespan in general, I never really felt inspired by schoolwork. So I would do it, but in a very robotic and boring way. So I felt like I came to this school because I saw things that were inspirational and how the people here are very bright and very happy. And so I came and everything was very was very interesting. I felt very happy and I felt inspired as the years go by. And I met a lot of people that I'm really glad I met. As someone who is more introverted, I feel like all the community building activities really helped. And I built relationships that I will carry for my whole life. And yes, I will recommend this school to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Iris. Anai, would you share with us a little bit about your experience as a parent engaging with Living Wisdom?
I wanted to say that I feel like Living Wisdom High School is really a community of both parents, families, and students. I felt so welcomed as a parent from the very beginning, so supported. I feel like my son is really seen for who he is as an individual, and not just one student in 100 students. I've just been so grateful for the whole experience. And I'm so excited for my son because he is going to start his year at college with so much excitement about learning and pursuing his passions. He's already talking about grad school, even though he hasn't done his 4 years. And he has so many interests, he's thinking of physics and math and computers, and he wants to integrate it all and do it all. And I feel like that excitement about learning has come from you and all the teachers there. So I'm just so thankful every day for all that you do.
Thank you so much, Anai. Oh, thank you. I'm Diego and Iris and Anai. I feel like you really encapsulated what your experience has been and the value of community, and that being the heartbeat of what we're doing. It creates a space where people can bring their ideas into this learning community and create what they want to see. And we've had students all throughout the years that we've been developing, bringing ideas and engaging in ways that if you're a part of an established program, there's certainly a lot of different ways to engage with sports and all sorts of things, but there's rarely as many opportunities to initiate and to learn how to develop your leadership in terms of inspiring something new to begin and developing the magnetism to draw other people into your enthusiasm and your passion. And students are able to do that here. We've this year watched and supported a growing athletic program inspired by one of the individuals who is a passionate runner. We've also seen the students were able to pair a couple of different needs. They wanted to create some after-school clubs. They were also looking at how to earn funds for some of the travel that we were planning for this year. And they married the two together in a beautiful way that served a larger community as well. They founded a chess club that was not solely for themselves and their high school peers, but they offered it as a service to younger students. And so those children have been coming over on a weekly basis until this change happened and learning chess from the older children. And also that the income from that process went directly into the funds for our service adventure travel. But watching the incredible transformation of the older students, not only in their ability to be present with and engaged with the younger children, but also their awareness of how to teach and how to relate to the understanding level of the other children, it just kept growing and growing and growing. So really, really beautiful. And having opportunities to create in that way, I think, is one of the gifts of Living Wisdom at this step in its development and growth. One of the other things that we value very highly is balanced living. And because we are here in Silicon Valley and our campus is in the heart of Palo Alto, it's very important that we unplug from all of our technological systems and recharge our own batteries in the natural world. We have an outdoor classroom that we utilize often when the weather is cooperative. We're in it at least once a week. We also do a lot of outings into all of the nature preserves in the area. We camp, we backpack, we keep that connection, both of experience and also heart quality, with the natural world alive in students. There's the saying that what we love, we naturally want to care for and protect. So keeping that love for the natural world alive is a vital part of what we do. Shanti shared about the Be the Change program that we're doing. This is part of our personal development program, and students participate in smaller pieces about 4 times a week. And then on Friday, Shanti leads a larger experience, which she was describing earlier. We integrate yoga and meditation and karate and mindfulness practices into the students' day. We usually start our mornings with some kind of physical exercise and also centering practice, as well as community building. I mentioned service. Our students not only offer service to their school community by way of helping to maintain and keep uplifted our learning space, supporting one another by creating a safe environment where they can share and be authentic and open with one another and with us, but they also offer themselves as mentors to younger students. We do partner reading with younger children once a week. We also serve locally. We've partnered with food banks and animal shelters and environmental groups, doing all sorts of different service here locally. And usually we plan an annual trip that is more extensive, as I mentioned before. And that can be a domestic trip or international. Last year, we spent time in Scotland attending a climate change and consciousness conference. Other trips have included visits to South Africa, Nepal, India, Mexico, Costa Rica, other parts of the United States and Canada. And these trips, always at the heart of them, there is a service component. The students participate in choosing the destination they would like to visit and also finding what the avenue of service will be, and then helping to plan out the trip. Like I said, fundraise for it, earn money for it. So they're really invested in the whole experience and learning a lot of vital life skills through those programs. Passions projects. So many schools are able in various ways to support the interests of their students. We go a little bit farther, in some cases quite a bit farther, and central to the curriculum and the personalized learning plan that students develop with the support of counselors, teachers, parents, and them. They also identify an area of their life that they would like to go deeper into. It can be an interest or a passion, and we help them to develop a project around that interest. They engage with a local mentor, someone who is a professional in the field that they've identified as their area of interest, and they do research. They do internships, they visit offices and participate in the professional life to some degree within that area of interest. And then they share at the end of the year about their experience in a more public, formal setting. We have students this year who are studying computer science, photography, art, and music. We have a student who creates his own music, and he's developing an album, including the cover art. We have students doing videography and creating film right now about our school. A student who writes poetry is collecting and crafting that into a design and publishing a book. We have a student who's very interested in neuroscience, and she's been able to partner with a neurosurgeon at Stanford and has attended several medical procedures, including participating in some of the training that resident doctors receive. She attended a brain cutting this year and then helped to prepare with doctors for a autopsy. We didn't stay for the full autopsy, but she got to experience that and then joined in for a medical review and assessment with a team of doctors as well. So any way that we can really bring students' interests to life in a dynamic way and bring them also into relationship with mentors in the larger community, we love to do so. This takes us in another direction, and I'm giving you a lot of information here. Again, please remember, if you have questions or comments, just unmute yourself and jump in. We are working with the Western Association of Schools and Colleges on our accreditation, and we are in the process. We've received what's called a candidacy for accreditation. It's basically the first level of approval. It allows all of our graduating seniors to graduate from an accredited school, and over the course of the next 3 years, we'll be finalizing that accreditation. It's a fabulous process of self-reflection and looking at our practices and how we can continue to grow and expand our program. So we're in the process with that. We have our first graduating class of seniors this year, as I mentioned before, and what you see on the screen are a number of the institutions that they have been invited to attend. So we're very, very, very happy for them and delighted to see the recognition of the caliber of individuals and human beings that they are and their readiness to go on to higher studies. For those who are looking at the screen and wondering where these are, we have Santa Clara University, which is here locally. Lewis and Clark College is in Portland, Oregon. We have UC Davis, St. Mary's College, San Jose State University, also local, CSU Sacramento, University of San Francisco, Boston College, Chapman University, and New York University. These are a number of the schools that our students have been invited to attend. The process for applying to Living Wisdom High School: first, following this meeting, visit the website. There you can contact us to set up a meeting, and I'll be glad to talk with you over the phone or over a Zoom call and just discuss your individual student and what their needs are, what you're looking for as a family. Then you would submit the first part of the application, and this is really still an exploration phase, so this is not a firm commitment of this is the direction I'm taking, but we're taking the next step in partnership together to explore if this is a good fit for the student and if this is a good fit for the school. Then we would meet with your student for a casual conversation just to get to know one another. And then the next step is the second and third part of our application. The second part is actually for the student to complete, and there's some reflection for them to think about what it is that they're looking for in their education and why they feel that Living Wisdom would be a really strong fit for them. And then the third part is a reflective part of the application for the parents to look at as well. Following all of those processes, we would be in communication with you about what we feel are appropriate next steps for stepping into partnership together. And finally, we really commit to living in the highest way that we can all of the principles and ideals that we hold of value for our students. And so here you see a lot of the Living Wisdom rules, but this is really philosophy into life. It really is a practice and much more than rules on a wall. These are living, breathing attitudes and ways of being that our students cultivate in themselves and that faculty and staff and families are also actively engaged in developing. It's a group of the radiant souls that have been with us this year, some but not all of them. Thank you. Thank you, students and families, for sharing. Thank you, friends of Living Wisdom, for being here tonight, and thank you, faculty. All my appreciation. Wish you a wonderful evening.